Hey guys, Michael here. Burning the midnight oil a little bit. It's about 10:20 p.m. on a Saturday night. Episode should have been posted yesterday, but this past week I was out of town visiting family, and it became too difficult to finish it all before I left. So it's gonna be it's gonna be up. It's gonna be up tonight. Actually, as soon as I finish recording this, it's gonna get uploaded. Wanted to give you guys a little bit of preface. This episode's a little bit different than what we normally do. Usually, when I do an interview episode, it's me interviewing a guest of some sort. This one's going to be a little different because, for once, I'm actually the one being interviewed. So, what you're going to hear is an interview that was conducted with me by a filmmaker by the name of Kim Otzelberger. Kim, if I mispronounced that, I'm sorry. I tried. It's Kim Otzelberger. She runs a little company called Bearheart Productions. She's still in school, and she wanted to make, and didn't want to. She still is making a documentary about filmmakers, passionate people, with a kind of a bent towards horror. And she had reached out to me and asked if I could be in the documentary, and I said, sure. So she came over, we set up a camera, and she pretty much the biggest thing she told me, she just wanted me to be really unfiltered and just speak from my heart, speak from my mind. So it's going to be a lot of me talking. And I've been doing this for quite a while where I can answer most questions, and most follow-up questions with an answer. So it's going to be a lot of me talking, but it's, meant to cut back and forth amongst other people. And honestly, a lot of times with the interviewer, the best thing an interviewer can do is try to be as involved as little as possible. But I wanted to specify because it is a little weird. You hear a voice that you're not familiar with asking me questions. She's never officially introduced, and I'm never really officially introduced because all of it's going to be done with crayons and such, and in context of the documentary. So yeah, I wanted to introduce this and give you guys an idea of what you're going to hear. I think it's kind of a fun little interview. I get pretty open about a lot of things. This is also going to be one of the last podcasts with my old mic setup, where I was using a cheap microphone for our secondary mic, and that it was just terrible quality. I had to do a lot of fixing up for it. I recorded all the audio for this for her. And because of which we still had the issue of the audio cutting in and out at times. So if there's awkward cuts, it's probably because the audio stopped recording. I had to restart it. So hopefully we won't have that issue much anymore. But I just wanted to let you guys know about it. So here's here's Kim Otzelberger's interview with me about my life and career in film. So, thanks for listening, guys.
Warning! This movie podcast actually discusses movies. Be aware that it may discuss any of the following elements: endings, surprise twists, unexpected cameos, and all manner of spoilers. If this doesn't appeal to you, why listen to a movie podcast? Without further ado, please enjoy our feature presentation, The Shameless Picture Show.
Alberta, I think, is a very amazing school, but it's not a film school.
Ever.
So I've kind of turned media design into my own major. Cool. And kind of structured it more like a film major. So all of my projects, if it's like here, write a paper or do a speech, I try to incorporate film in some kind of way, whether I'm talking about it or I can actually do a short film.
I got a funny story about that once you're finished.
Okay. So the main reason I'm doing this research project is to kind of really connect with people who either went to film school, they're doing the film stuff, they're in some kind of film career. So after I graduate, which is in a year, which sounds scary, but it'll be okay.
You got this.
Yeah. I'll have some kind of connections or some kind of direction on where I could potentially go.
Yeah.
So what's your story now? I want to know.
Well, my story is actually kind of funny because when I was in high school,
No, you're good.
I'm just being a nerd when it comes to audio, make sure everything is sounding good. When I was in high school, I didn't like writing papers. And I would actually get really beastie about not having to write papers, so much to the point where I actually wrote a paper about why I shouldn't have to write a paper.
Nice. Which
is very counterintuitive.
Right.
But anytime that we had a project due or a paper, if I could do a video instead, I would.
Yeah.
So, if we had to write a paper or do a project, I would be like, can I make a video instead? I even made a video for science class.
Yeah, I did too. Yep.
So it's like, it was supposed to be about deforestation, so I made a movie about Bigfoot. Nice. Because Bigfoot lives in a forest somewhere, and it made no sense, but I still got an A on it. It had no scientific merit whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I got to make a movie about Bigfoot, and what's best of all, I didn't have a Bigfoot costume, so I just had a friend of mine walking around in full cloak and just pretending to be Bigfoot.
So. Nice. Was he far enough away?
Yeah.
So like
no, it was full on close-ups.
Nice.
Yeah. So I get where you're coming from, where you don't have the major you want, so you find any way to pursue it on your own. I get that. I love that.
Right. So did you go to film school? I think I remember you went to UWM.
Yes, I went to UWM, so specifically the Peck School of the Arts. Oh. I was accepted into a couple other film schools. I was accepted into Columbia College in both Chicago and California.
Oh,
and
look
I was
at
also
you.
accepted to Vancouver Film School. I couldn't afford any of them, even with the measly scholarships they gave me, which, if anyone's listening, I appreciate those scholarships.
Yeah.
They just didn't do much for me. Like, going out of the country would have been just terribly expensive, and Columbia's housing alone was more than probably I paid to go to UWM.
Alone?
Probably close to.
That just made my entire body cringe.
So I wanted to go there, but then what I'm really happy with, because if I would have went to any of those other schools, I would have had an amazing education. But they turn out filmmakers like a machine, where I don't want to be so bold as to say they aren't favoring creativity, because that's not the truth at all. But a lot of these big time film schools, you pick your focus very early on. I want to be a director, I want to be a cinematographer, I want to be an editor, and you focus specifically on that. They teach you the Hollywood way of making films, which is still really good, because I don't have that knowledge. So for me to go on a set and try to PA or to try to grip, I've got a very different way of working than people who have gone to those other schools, or people who, unlike myself, right after college started going off and freelancing and working. So they learn those skills, which I never got. So I got to give them a lot of credit for that. But then your entire focus is towards your senior project, which you pick one senior project that the group wants to do, and you essentially crew it.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm going to study in cinematography and I don't get a chance to be the cinematographer, I'm a grip. I'm a gaffer. I'm the fucking best boy. Whatever they need. So it's kind of a cool way of working, where everyone gets to do their focus, and then by the end of it, you all learn how to make a professional film, which is cool. My education was very different. My first class, they threw a camera in my hands essentially and said, go out and fucking make something. And they also didn't let you use digital cameras.
Oh.
So when I was in school, we didn't have books. We had to buy film.
Yeah.
And one reel film, which is 100 feet, with my student discount, was about $15. It's normally $25, so it's a pretty sick deal. Until you realize 100 foot of film gets you roughly 3.5 minutes of footage.
Okay.
And I was shooting on a camera from World War II, these old Filmo cameras. This would be a good time for you to insert a clip of an old Filmo camera. And didn't roll sound. You had turret lenses on it. So it was 3 lenses. It was a small, medium, and large for close-up distances and so on and so forth. That you switched between. And they just rotate around. You couldn't, like DSLRs, you can, I need a 50 millimeter, let me pop that on. You had those 3 lenses to choose from, and that was it. No sound. I had to crank the camera to make it roll, and that's how we learned to shoot. You couldn't use digital cameras until you passed portfolio, because that's how they weeded people out. Because everyone wants to go to film school and get their hands on like a digital camera and start making cool shit.
Right.
But it's like, no, you have to learn how to shoot, how to light, how to use a light meter.
Right.
Because now you can just look at the camera and be like, oh, it's a little dark in here. Let me play with my settings a little bit. Then I had to use a light meter to figure out my exposure because what I was looking through the viewfinder did not give me an accurate representation of what the camera's seeing.
Yeah.
So, but they threw a camera in my hands and said, just go out there and make something, create something. You know, we had a processing lab in-house that they would process the film. And we found out the hard way that our processing lab always processed it 2 stops lower. So if I was shooting for perfect exposure, it'd come out 2 stops darker than it was supposed to. So you then learn, okay, I should go 2 stops higher so that it will even itself out. And then you take it to the editing bay, you reel it up, and you cut it by hand. So it was a very different way of working.
Right.
But it was completely independent, which I liked. They gave you a theme. Okay, go out and shoot in nature, and however that responds to you, nature, whether it be, you know, the actual art of, you know, of shooting nature photography and, you know, trees, wind, water, heart,
right.
Or if you want to internalize it a little more, like,
right.
what does nature mean to me? So it was a very different way of working.
Yeah. So would you say that was like your most influential moment from your film school career? Or was there a certain class that maybe stood out above the rest?
That's where it becomes tough because I have a love and appreciation for shooting on film now that I didn't at the time. I was very stubborn going through film school, and I not every, but like a lot of young students, I thought I knew better. I thought I knew the world. I thought, why do I need to learn this old shit? And I thought it was cool getting to learn it, don't get me wrong.
Right.
I just didn't have the appreciation for it. Whereas I wish I would have. I wish I would have taken a little more time with it and learned to shoot better than I did. Everything was there for me to learn. I just had this very dumb idea in my brain of how this situation was going to work.
Right.
For me, the most influential moment was also my most difficult. Was later on in school, I took a cinematography class with a professor by the name of Iverson White, who's an old school film guy. With his cinematography class, it kind of works this way that, say, some of the big film schools work. Is in cinematography, every week you shoot someone else's project. You pick a scene. He gives you different styles of lighting, whether it be high key, low key, so on and so forth. And then you have to find a scene that matches that style of lighting, and then shoot it frame by frame the exact same way. And then every week, someone was the cinematographer, someone was the director, and then everyone else crewed it. And that was my most influential moment because, one, he expected everyone to come in knowing everything that you should have learned in your basic film classes that I was too naive to feel like was necessary to me. So it was baptism by fire. I had to pull out my American cinematographer's guide and learn the mathematical equation for doing perfect exposure. But then I also got to learn all these different positions. And there was a week where I got to be director and I had to communicate with my cinematographer to show him the shot. I couldn't just be like, here's a picture of the shot we're trying, because we all have our clips with us so that way we can reference it and try to recreate as best we can. Right. But then I'd have to tell him, it's like, okay, I need the camera at a medium angle. I need to have the actors here and here, figure out the blocking with them. I would need to give them an idea of what lenses we needed. And then I had to also help him try to figure out which lights where with how much diffusion and learn how to light a scene. And I still suck at it to this day. So we might lose a little bit of audio here. So that's
okay.
Another learning tactic for you. We're trying to figure out where everything is at.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Oh,
Bruce Willis
yelling at Kevin Smith, and cinematographer said to Kevin, "Hey, we got the shot ready." And he's like, "Cool, let's shoot it." And Bruce Willis was like, "Aren't you gonna look at the camera?" And he's like, "No, I trust my cinematographer." And that was kind of, I was like, "Oh, he's a big time director. He just trusts his cinematographer. He doesn't have to look at it." And I learned that that's the wrong fucking way to do it. You always check your cinematographer's work because you want to know what's being shot. So I had all these ideas in my brain of what a director was like and what a director did. And because of, DVD commentaries and shit like that, because I ate all that up.
Right.
Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
cool.
good.
Cool. And I was wrong. I learned a lot from that situation. So that was the most impactful moment for me. Was I loved my film school because it taught me to be creative and think outside the box and do things in a very different way. But then those moments of having to work on a real set were like, I think that's what missing in film school. You get one way or the other. People who learn how to work on that full set sometimes aren't the most creative. Right. And I'm not saying there's not creative people that go to those schools. That's completely wrong. There are plenty of creative people. But like, I love that my school taught me different ways of viewing things. They had a penchant towards art film, so you watched a lot of art film and you learned how to break things down and understand it and why you're doing what you're doing, for what reason, and what emotional response you're trying to get. And then there was classes that taught you how to crew and taught you how to work with other people and make this stuff happen, but it wasn't their focus. I think and then while other schools will have some classes on theory and on that creative side, but your focus is being on a set, so you can kind of choose. I think the perfect school should be one that actively teaches both. Right. So that way you can have both of those. I think Robert Rodriguez one time says, he said a creative person can learn the technical side, but a technical person can't learn to be creative. So I've been talking for a while. I don't know if you've actually ever officially introduced me.
No, I just kind of let it go through the flow. Just because I want it to seem more real, not like
that's
cut and paste interviews.
Like, you give me a live mic, I can talk. That's the reason I've been doing a podcast for 3 years, because for that was the doing episodes on my own were big deals, because I was like, how am I going to talk by myself for no reason about anything? But all of my episodes, like my last episode I recorded on my own was an hour and 30 minutes, just me. Yeah, you had clips in once, and that maybe took up 10 minutes but it's like I talked for an hour and 20 minutes.
It's okay, I support
by
you.
myself.
Yeah. So it seems like your film school experience was like, it had its ups and downs, but overall it was like an amazing experience. Did you go on the graduate school at all, or did you just do your...
I've been thinking about graduate school.
Okay.
I haven't officially decided if that's the route I want to go, but it's one of those things. I want to go to graduate school because I want to continue my education. And there's regrets I have in my film school career that if I could go back and teach young Michael and be like, hey, pay more attention to this, pay more attention to this. Don't be so naive. Don't have just a single idea of how you're going to make it in this film world, because it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in that way. I've thought about going back to grad school and learning a different side of it and making it so that I could teach, because I was a teacher for 5 years as well. But then I've talked to former professors of mine and who are like, save your money. You can learn books are your best friend, essentially. And I've heard mixed things. Like, the reason I want to go back to grad school is to like kind of, I don't want to say rekindle my love for film, because it's never gone away, but as a way to maybe pay a little more attention to some of those things that I didn't think I needed.
Right.
And be able to get equipment to use for free. That's pretty dope. Because I don't have any equipment of my own. I borrow from other people or things like that. So like, I've thought about it. But then I just keep thinking of like the financial aspect of it. And this might be getting a little too personal. But I also think too, is like, is it going to really progress my film career anywhere else? I am where I am right now because of my own actions. And I wouldn't consider where I'm at to be a failure in any way. I chose a different path. Most people, when they leave film school, they have a couple routes. So some people move to LA or Chicago or Atlanta, wherever there's a hotbed of film work. They start freelancing right away, which is a very popular thing. They start crewing up for commercials, things like that. You know, they'll be a grip and hope to work their way up to camera op and maybe cinematographer, and they'll maybe shoot some stuff on the side. Or they'll take my path where I made a couple really successful films out of film school. I had a 2-year stretch that was amazing, And I thought, well, this is what's going to keep propelling me. I've made these films. I've gotten these crews behind me. I just got to keep writing cool scripts or coming up ideas, and people will work with me to help make them. And there is some truth behind that. I always have people who are willing to help. But then I realize it's like, I haven't made a film in 3 years. It's not from lack of wanting to. I have scripts. I have ideas. There's not a lot of money. And my issue is lately that I have not been able to write a script that is affordable to shoot. And it's like, I sit down and be like, I got to write a script that I could probably shoot in my house with my own friends, a couple cameras, do this nice and easy. I'll sit there and it'll be fucking crickets. But then like, how about instead I write a film about professional wrestling in the 1970s? Let's do that instead.
Yeah.
And all the ideas fucking flow.
Right.
So, and like I've got friends of mine who are producers who are like, I like your ideas. We'll see what we can do and try to see if we can find some money or find a way to shoot it cheaper. But they're all working and they're all doing things, and that's awesome and fantastic.
Right.
And I still believe in my heart of hearts that I'm going to make stuff. I'm going to get stuff done. Because the one thing you have to stop doing, that I had to stop doing, was comparing myself to success stories. You always hear about those success stories, like, oh, I made my first film when I was 22 years old, and now I'm making Godzilla or whatever.
Right.
The reality, or Quentin Tarantino didn't go to school and worked in a video store and then got lucky and made Reservoir Dogs and has had a career. You got to shed that. Right. And realize there's a lot of filmmakers who don't make their first film till their 30s.
Right.
That's just how it works. And you just got to find ways to keep your love of film going. I knew myself. I wasn't a very good shooter. So doing freelance work, well, I could do it. I could shoot. I can set up a camera. I can do all that. I'm not great at lighting, and I know myself. Being honest, I'm not great at lighting. I could probably shoot freelance, but freelance is tough because, and this isn't the case of everyone, freelance can really beat you down and makes people who fucking loved film make them not love it anymore. Right. Same thing with crewing. When it's your 9-to-5 job, it's hard for it to be a passion. And that's why some people who freelance or crew or whatever, they have their own personal projects to keep them going. Right. But if you don't have those personal projects propelling you forward, you could lose all that love that you once had. If it stops again, let me know.
No, I'm keeping an eye on it too.
And I'm kind of in that boat where I'm not a very good shooter. I feel like I'm a good writer.
Yeah.
I don't like toot my own horn. I'm just going with what other people have told me. I feel like I'm a good writer. I wrote my first feature film in high school.
That's pretty
Granted,
cool.
It was 300 pages, so it was insanely long. But I wrote my first feature film in high school. I wrote at least 2 or 3 of them while I was in college. Most of them were not very good or really unshootable.
Yeah.
There's one I have right now that I think is really good, and there's people I want to work with, but everything needs to come together.
Right.
But what I've done is to not, because it becomes very disillusioned. I'm sure it's even happened with you. You're still really young. You had your Italy trip. You're doing that, and then you wanted to make this documentary. It may not be going the exact way you planned for it to go, and I'm sure there's parts of you be like, why am I even bothering? Why am I doing this? And the bad days can make you really question why you like doing this.
Right.
I'm sure you can attest to that.
Yeah.
But then everyone needs to have their thing that keeps them going. For me, it's the podcast.
Right.
Because if I wasn't actively doing much for film other than maybe writing when I have time, talking about it with my filmmaking friends and being like, oh, what if we did this? What if we did this? That's not enough to keep me going. And coming home and just putting a movie on. Like when I was in film school, I'd watch a movie to be inspired. Be like, look at the way that they move the camera in this scene. I'd love to do something like that. Look at the performance they got out of this actor. I'd love to do something like that. They didn't cut out of it. This is a 5-minute scene. They haven't cut the camera once. I'd love to do something like that. Yeah. I watched it for inspiration. So if I'm not making movies, say just for whatever reason I can't make them right now, what am I watching movies for? Mm-hmm. It's hard to sometimes keep that love just. So like having an outlet where I can talk about them or write about them, or the fact that film festivals have been asking me to come out and moderate panels about film, and I've been becoming a personality. It's no longer, my cryon on the bottom of a screen used to say Michael Viers, filmmaker. Right. Now it's Michael Viers. Sometimes it says filmmaker, podcaster, cineast, film culturist, as I've been calling myself. Like I've got more layers to it. Yeah. And that's what keeps me going. I don't remember what the question was, but I kind of
I liked where you took it. You answered a lot of my questions all in one, like.
See, I don't even need you here. I could have just done this interview on my own. I could have hit everything you wanted me to do just on my own.
But I guess, okay, so talk about after college.
Okay, where?
Maybe
Drop me in a timeline.
Maybe first film that you did.
Okay.
Or maybe the first time you started the podcast, because it's such a big piece of you.
Well, I'll do it in two parts. So
okay.
Podcast came later. First film outside of film school can't really be talked about unless I talk about what I consider to be my first film, period.
Okay.
Because I made stuff in film school. One or two of them I think are actually pretty good, but it's, like if one day I was a relatively successful filmmaker and someone wanted to put out a collection of my early films, I don't know if I put some of those other ones on it. The one that I kind of cite as my first real film was one I did in college. It was my senior thesis film. It's called From the Darkness Theater.
Oh,
I showed you that one.
I'm pretty sure I've seen
the horror host and
yes, and then the guy gets
at the movie theater.
Yeah,
and everything.
Yeah. I've totally seen this one.
I consider that to be my first real film. Either way. And I came into that project like a bat out of hell. I feel like it's something to prove because horror films were kind of looked down upon.
Yeah, I feel that.
They're more acceptable now because we've had this run of high art horror cinema coming out the last couple years. So it's better now, but when I was in school, torture porn was the big thing.
Yeah.
So it's everyone viewed everything as being a man, in a mask chasing a woman.
Right.
And that's part of it. That is part of the genre. If you're gonna be a horror fan, you can have things you like and have things you don't like, but you can't just completely ignore part of it.
Right.
For better or for worse, it's part of the history.
Right.
And I was a big horror guy, and I was I wanted to be I want to show people that you can have more. I wanted to show people that you can make a horror film that follows the tropes and everything, that is well made and interesting and all that good shit.
Right.
But that's also a horror film at its core. It's not a scary film. Some people would consider it to be a thriller, which I think thriller is just a nice word for horror film.
Yeah, I agree.
Not every film has to necessarily be jump scare to be effective. I know I'm not paying enough attention to you. So I repurposed an idea that was not mine originally.
Right.
This isn't the whole Frankie, calm down, big girl. It's no surprise. One of my favorite horror films. It's kind of like a revisionist slasher film. It's a movie from 1980 called Maniac by William Lustig. They made a remake with Elijah Wood a couple years ago. It's one of my favorites because it's it's a character piece wrapped in a horror film. It's very thoughtful and interesting, but also grotesque and at times hard to watch.
Right.
And I think the conflicting films are the things that what interests me sometimes. A movie that makes you care about a character, but is also a terrible person at the same. I feel like films should challenge. You shouldn't. I'm a firm believer that you can be opposed to a movie 100%, but you should still see challenging things once in a while if you can handle it.
Right.
But with Maniac, it was so successful they wanted to do a sequel with Buddy Giavazio. He directed a movie called Combat Shock.
Okay.
And they were going to do a unofficial sequel called Mr. Robbie. Starring the same guy, Joe Spinell. They wanted to have him back in it, and it was about a TV clown who gets a letter from a young fan that his father's abusing him. And I essentially stole that storyline because I thought it was such an interesting story and did my own thing with it. And it's no shock because a horror festival called me out on it.
Yeah. Not
in a mean way. They wrote their own definition that inspired by Maniac 2, Mr. Robbie, because I'd never said it out loud, but it was they saw it, and that's an obscure poll. I'm just gonna own it now, right? Because I can't hide from I've never seen it or any of that shit. It's I also made enough references to it, where I named my character Robert Spinell, so after the character from Mr. Robbie with the actor's last name who played him. Yeah. I wasn't hiding it.
Right, you're pretty out there.
I was pretty open with it, but I wanted to do my own version of it, and I think it did pretty well. It got me to the Cannes Film Festival.
Right.
It didn't play necessarily at the Cannes Film Festival. It played at the Short Film Corner, so it's not... Some people don't consider it to be actually playing at Cannes because you weren't on an official screen. Mm-hmm. Short Film Corner is a TV setup with every short film that they've accepted that you can choose to go there and watch.
Oh.
So I still consider it the official selection.
Yeah, I would consider it too.
But I didn't play on a screen.
Right.
But that was a big moment for me because I was like, hey, a movie that everyone told me is kind of a dumb idea, or it's just a boring horror movie, or that, and this is the exact thing I was told from a professor of mine, you only make, is like, Michael doesn't have to worry because he's making horror films, so he's always going to make his money back. It's like, so you're saying that horror can't be artful, can't be interesting.
Right.
Well, here I am at the biggest film festival in the world with a horror film.
Right.
And there's where I got to meet Lloyd Kaufman of Trauma Entertainment, and that took a big turn in my life. And the success of From the Darkness Theater is why I got my next film, Love You Still.
I think I saw that one too. That
about
was
the old man in the cabin?
Yes. Yeah.
And I had to apply for that job. It was part of Milwaukee Film's now defunct screenwriting competition, where high schoolers from all around Wisconsin wrote in their heart of hearts what they thought a script was. They didn't need to know formatting, they didn't have to know any of that. Just write a script with an idea. And then all the scripts got read. The best 50 of them got called into a screenwriting seminar to teach them actual formatting, what goes into writing a good script, so on and so forth. Like, take what you wrote before, which was we thought there was something good there, refine it. Then they narrow it down to 5, and a director of their choosing gets to read the 5 scripts, choose which one he wants to do, and they give them a budget and a crew and all this other stuff. I was one of the directors who got to read the 5 scripts and pitch my idea. Mm-hmm. What got me in the room was a scene from the Darkness Theater. It's the very last scene of my lead character sitting after he had just murdered someone, sitting in the mirror, putting his makeup on the next morning, singing to himself. Yeah. Or just humming to himself. That was the scene I submitted for my director reel. Just that one scene. And it got me in the door. I went and pitched my idea, and they liked what I wanted to do with it, and they chose me. And I thought, this is a good moment for me to show that I'm not just the guy who made a horror film. Right. There was a horror script in there, and everyone was expecting me to choose it. Right. But I knew that. Right. So I chose not to pick it. And I chose the left field option, which most people view it as the left field option. My best friend, Kyle, who's also a filmmaker, he's like, I was telling him, he's like, oh, everyone expected me to choose a horror film, and they thought this was the left field option. He's like, well, maybe it's because I know you. This is the logical script for you. I was like, thank you. That's what I thought. Yeah. But it's not the horror script. Right. And I made that film. That was a great experience. I shot that entire film in 2 or 3 days. We had a full crew, a full budget, professional light. It was my first experience really directing. It's From the Darkness Theater. It was run and gun. It was very guerrilla with my friends. Like, we had professional lights and everything. Like, we were doing what we thought professionals did. Yeah. We were pretty close. Yeah. It turned out good. It turned out good. But then when I shot this other thing, it's like, we have detailed schedules. We have shot lists. We have all this other stuff that go into it. All this pre-production I have to do as well, where it's like, we need to have every article of clothing picked and a reason for why I picked it. And I need to have the complete film visualized beforehand, whereas with From the Darkness Theater, I had a rough idea, but you would just find it in the scene as we were shooting. It's like, now it's like, well, what do you want to do for this next shot? And I would just look at the cinematographer and be like, what are you thinking? Yeah. And they'd be like, no, what do you want to do? It's your vision. Right. The cinematographer's here to help create that vision and give ideas along the way, but it's not the cinematographer's movie. Right. It's your movie. And that was a big moment for me. It's like, you're right. I need to have this completely visualized, and cinematographer and I worked together to create that. That was a big moment for me. And I was like, in a year's time, I made these 2 really polished movies. Yeah, they were good. I liked them. And From the Darkness Theater did really well for itself. It played at film festivals all over the world. It even got to play at the festival down in Texas called the House Core Horror Festival.
Nice.
Which was big for me because it played before Argento Suspiria.
Mm.
And like, that was a big moment because it's like, holy shit, I get to play before one of the greatest horror films of all time. Love You Still did well, not as good.
Mm-hmm.
I have thoughts as to why, but it's important. I'm still really happy with that film. I should have pushed it to more film festivals. I was just broke. Because another thing, we crowdfunded from the Darkness Theater, and to my knowledge, I was one of the first people to crowdsource their senior project.
Oh.
It's become a common thing now, but when I was in my senior class, that stuff was still new.
Right.
And I had written that script a year before I even went to senior project. So I was pre-producing it beforehand, to the point where, because how senior project works, you have 2 semesters. First semester, you do all your pre-production and maybe start shooting. Second semester, you shoot and edit.
Well, I was going to do a senior project this year that kind of had the same setup, but like, of course, it doesn't exist.
I shot the entire thing I was done shooting by the time my second week of senior project 1 came around.
Nice.
Or because like my teacher was like, yeah, come in to class next week with 3 ideas you'd like to do for your senior project and kind of give us an idea of what you want to do. And I raised my hand and was like, can I not do that? He's like, well, why? I'm shooting next week. I have my script. I have it done. I'm shooting next week. So I was already ruffling feathers, and I was already editing by the time I got to my second semester. So
well, it's good. It's like your process.
Yeah,
like
so that was how that all came to be. And then with Love You Still, it was a very long process where, like, even because it was very strange for me, because making from the Darkness Theater, I did everything. I did all the editing. I had someone else help me with the audio. But like I went out and bought all the costumes, the props. I had a good friend of mine who was helping me at the time with it, but I pretty much did everything. And then when it came to Love You Still, they're like, "Oh, just tell us what you need. We'll go out and get it."
Wig.
What?
Yeah.
Like we'd have pre-production meetings, and they're like, "Well, what do you want?" And I'd be like, "Well, I don't know if we can find this, but," and I'd pitch my idea of how I think it should look and time period wise, and they're like, "We can do that. We've got connections with antique stores and such." And like, well, I really want to shoot in a cabin as well. So we went on a location scout finding a cabin, and we found a cute little cabin on a woman's property. We asked if we could see it, and she's like, yeah, of course. And we're going to pay her for it and everything. Mm-hmm. We went inside, and it's like, oh, it's really nice, but like there's mud that comes up to here. It looks like it hasn't been lived in probably 40 years.
Yeah.
It's like, it would be really cute. And she's like, do you like the cabin? My producer, I would love it if it was more livable. And she's like, that's not a problem. If you like it, we can make it livable. And I was like, yeah, I love it. And then she's like, cool, we'll get on it. From what I heard is like our crew was going there on the Friday before shooting to go and clean it all up and everything. And she's like, oh, it'll look good tomorrow. And like, so it's the cabin, like, so the mud's really high. The sink is in one location. I didn't really like where it was located because I wanted to put a desk there and everything. I was like, oh, I wish those were reversed. I come in, the mud's completely gone. There's floors that they had cleaned out. They had relocated the sink to a second location and completely furnished it.
Whoa.
And I was like, holy shit.
The older woman did this, or your crew?
My crew.
Okay,
did this,
I was like, this little woman
shit.
like jumped on it.
And I was like, I also had things in the script I wanted to do. I was like, oh, I really have some, like, one of the scenes that people really cite as being something they liked in that film is because I don't like flashbacks in movies. I like flashbacks, but I think they're always done in a very uninteresting way. It's just a hard cut or like a weird filter or something.
Yeah,
to get you to
I
a
agree.
flashback.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to show flashbacks, but I don't want to just cut to a previous time period and have it be colored differently. I'm just not about that. So me and my cinematographer came up with this really crazy idea. And I was like, what if we, like, the movie's being shot at night and like he walks into a flashback where then it's daytime. We pitched it to them. I was like, yeah, we can do that. But I was looking at the schedule. I was like, but we can't shoot any nights. It's like, you don't have any nights on here, because we had high schoolers where any high schooler who entered into the screenwriting competition could be on set and learn. So they can only work X amount of dates on before they have to call a wrap. And the whole point of them is being on set. So it's like, well, we can't work any nights. How are we going to achieve this? I come to set that day. They have half the cabin tented off and lit like it's nighttime. They even have a rain machine on the outside of it to make it rain. And then the other half of the house, they had a bright light coming in to make it look like daylight. And I go in and it's literal a night to day transition. And it's like, holy shit, we did this in person. We have him walking from daytime to night or nighttime to daytime in the same shot with no digital trickery. So that was a big moment for me. It's like, it's kind of crazy that I have a crew of people who are here to help me with this.
Right.
And then like I'm used to editing my own projects. I had an editor. I had a sound designer. I had a composer, all working towards this. Like I was crewing on a Sean Astin movie that summer. I was shooting here, and I was just a PA and I did art direction. I'd have to get permission to leave set early because it's like, oh, I have to go and see the newest cut of my movie, and I'd go into the editing bay and sit down in a comfy chair, and they're like, oh, this is what we've done with it, and I just have to give them notes. Like, this is such a weird way of working where I'm so used to doing everything on my own.
Yeah.
That it's spoiled me. So when I was riding the high of making a movie, and I knew I'd have to go back to doing things myself. I knew that, but I had a new film I wanted to make, and I was working with another high school student who wrote what I thought was an interesting script that needed some work, but I really liked the core idea. We got to making that, and went back to just doing a running gun style of shooting, and it took me. Shooting went by fast.
Yeah. Like
maybe a couple weekends. I was also shooting in the dead of winter, so it was -degree temperatures. I had a lot of goodwill of people I knew, so there was people out there helping me, like Steadicam operators shooting with me, and cinematographers and lighters who weren't asking for much money, if at all. But I got so spoiled with the rear end of production being taken care of for me that the post-production process in that film was a complete and utter nightmare. That when I actually finished it, it's like I didn't like the movie anymore. And it kind of spiraled me out a little bit. Right. And that's kind of when the podcast came to be. When I needed something to help me fall in love with movies again, I was like, I'm just going to create a podcast. Yeah. Fuck it, anyone can make a podcast. So that's what I did.
And here you are.
That was a very long, drawn out.
No, I liked it. It was good.
Story. And
you answered more questions.
I left a lot out too.
But no, I liked it. One of my questions as you were talking was gonna be like, what's it like working on everything and then being, and you answered that. Yeah. So
it's weird though.
Yeah. Do you have? I guess you made it sound like your preference was when you have a full crew.
Well, I think that's everyone's preference though. Everyone likes where the load gets taken off your shoulders. But I'm now kind of at this point where I just want to make something, and I want to make something cool, and I don't care if I have to do every job myself. Right. I just want to get something cool made.
Yeah. Okay, so if you could create a film, budget isn't a problem, you have your crew, everything you need is like right there for you. What kind of film would you create?
Well, my instinct is always to say make another horror film. Yeah. Because that's the script that I have written. It's my homage to slasher films.
Isn't it the one with the pig? Yep. I did. Yeah, you did share a little bit of that one.
But like, if I had anything, I even had like, I could get likeness rights and all this other stuff, and even have some historians and maybe another writer to help me with it. My dream project is, I love professional wrestling. It's one of my favorite things other than film in the world. And one of my favorite wrestlers from the 1970s is a guy by the name of Harley Race. Okay. And I've always just wanted to do a movie on his life because I think it would be fascinating. And that would be my dream, because I've always loved biopics as well, especially on ones that are made on people that you wouldn't anticipate. Or I love anything behind the scenes of show business and things like that. And I just think a movie about the life of a person that's prolific in professional wrestling that maybe the majority of people wouldn't know, I think would be amazing. Yeah. I guess that's like a dream project that I would love to do.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah. It'd be fun.
I don't have the full cast in mind because I don't know which part of his life I would necessarily do. I feel like I'd want to do through his his prolific championship career and then him getting into the business and things like that. The only person I know for a fact I'd want to do is I'd want John C. Reilly to play Harley Race, because if you look at a picture of both of them, they look a lot alike.
Nice.
So that's the only thing, like, in my heart of hearts, like, that would be great if I could do that. But in terms of like anyone else, not really. I just think it'd be great to be able to, you know, hi Lewin. I love movies that recreate specific times in history.
Yeah.
Thud.
Thud.
So yeah, like off the top of my head, that's like the one I'd love to do. Like I'd always love to do like a Bonnie and Clyde Lovers on the Run movie.
Yeah.
You know, sci-fi. Like, there's so many things I'd love to do, but like that's the one that if I had all the control in the world, or just because it's hard enough just to get the rights to someone's life.
Right.
Just like I guess another thing I'd love to do is I've actually gotten the permission to write this, and I've started writing it. Lloyd Kaufman of Trauma Entertainment he was a big influence early on in my career, because and I think he's got a really interesting life. He gave me permission to write a script about his life, and that would be another thing that I'd like to do. So like,
yeah,
it seems to be the history of people is where I'm kind of interested at the moment.
Yeah, so you got your horror track, and then you got your history of people, and then like, wrestling.
I also just love it too, like where you hear stories about like people like Jim Jarmusch or like Martin Scorsese or Tim Burton, all these directors who was like, I have an idea,
right? And
they pitch it to a producer or something, and they find a screenwriter, and they're like, I just loved it where I can be like, I have an idea, and start fleshing it out where I don't actually have to do all the scripting myself. Be like, let's work on this idea and try to flesh this out and see what we can get.
Yeah,
like I think that'd be fun.
Okay, how about one final question? I'm 21, right? If you could go back in time and talk to your 21-year-old self, you kind of touch base on this, but a little bit. What kind of advice would you give yourself?
Soak in everything you can. That's the biggest thing, and to shed any preconceived notions of how you think you get into the film business, what the right way is, what the wrong way is. Shed all of that and soak up every piece of information you can, any books that you can get your hands on, any DVD special features, whatever. Yeah. And also go outside your comfort zone. I discovered a lot of cool stuff in film school. But there's a lot of things that I should have discovered earlier on that I didn't see or didn't experience because I had it convinced in my brain that I wasn't going to like it. And I feel like if I've learned anything, and this goes for anyone who is a fan of movies in general, whether you be, of the tribe of people like we are, we love everything, we love so much, or even just someone who only goes to the movies on a Friday to give themselves something to do. There's so many people who stop themselves from seeing something because they don't think they're going to like it. And I wish I would have shedded that early on. Because like I even see it now a lot too on like film groups that I follow. People will be like, about to watch blank. What do you all think about it? Should I spend my time? It's like, turn it on, just watch it.
Right.
Don't go into it viewing as, is this going to be a waste of my time?
Right.
Like some people say I'm a little too forgiving when it comes to movies sometimes, where I've got a philosophy where that if there was one good scene, it wasn't a waste of my time. Yeah, I agree. Where and now I have the issue where there's so much stuff I want to watch that I can never get to it all. Yeah. So soak up everything. Have your goal in mind of what you want to do and how you want to get there. But don't be discouraged if it doesn't go the way you had planned. In film school, if someone would have, I liked podcasts when I was in film school, but if someone would have said that I'd be making more of a name for myself recording podcasts than actually making movies, I'd probably laugh and be like, no, that's not going to be my path. Right, yeah. But it's been a path that's brought me so much fulfillment. Yeah. So take the turns as they come and take opportunities. Even if the opportunity ends up being complete shit, take weird opportunities. Someone offers like, hey, do you want to come to a small town in Virginia with me and make a movie? If
Sure.
you can afford to do it, and you can, everything lines up, and you can get off
Right.
your job. Don't say yes until you've made sure you can actually do it.
Right.
But don't be like, well, what if this isn't good? What if this does? What if this sucks? What if I don't like the script? What if I don't like it?
Right.
Just if you can make it happen, go
Right.
do it. Take the opportunity, because you never know where you're gonna lead. And like I said, or even like if like, oh, I haven't gotten a chance to make a movie in a while, but this website's offered me an opportunity to write my feelings and thoughts about film.
Right.
Maybe not necessarily reviews, but just essays on it. If you feel like you got something to say, take it.
Right.
Like if I've learned anything from my time working in film, is there's more jobs out there than just being a filmmaker or being a director. If you truly love film, you'll find a path that
Right.
works for you. And I would be bummed out that if I never really got to make the feature film I want to make. But if I can make a life and a living and a career off of being one of those dudes that just talks about movies, I'd be fucking ecstatic.
You'd be living your life, right?
Yeah. Because I still get to do something with film, which is one of the few things that I truly love in this world.
I like that. I also like your owl cup. Or is it a snowman?
Thank
owl.
you. It's
Yeah.
an owl. It's an owl. This is one of my wife's cups, but I thought it'd be nice and nondescript.
Oh,
No
yeah.
logos.
I like that.
I'm thinking.
But no.
So yeah, that would be my advice to myself or you or whoever, is just soak things up. And like what I do, like all film nerds, whenever
Yeah.
Criterion does their big sale, we go to Barnes and Noble or onto their website and pick up the titles that we've been eyeing up.
Yeah.
Biggest thing I tell people is grab the ones you want to get, definitely.
Yeah.
Pick up a couple that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Look at the cover and be like, oh, that looks interesting, read the description, and give things a shot.
Right.
So many people are afraid to see things or listen to music or read things that they've never heard of. But that can be some of the most rewarding stuff. And yeah, sometimes it might suck, but
Right.
honestly, not everything can be good. Not
Right.
everything can be great. But that's part of it.
Right.
Like if you only surround yourself with what's good and what makes you happy, you kind of just start becoming just very even toned.
Mhm.
Challenge yourself.
Right. Be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. Because like even with my wife is another challenger. Because and it's not that she doesn't like foreign films, but sometimes
Right.
it's not always her instinct to want to watch something subtitled. And I sometimes the same way. Come home from a long day at work, you don't know if you want to necessarily read, but sometimes challenging yourself to do that, it can be some of the most rewarding things.
Yeah, there's really good foreign
Mhm.
films I've watched recently.
I've also found too where I always try to find the artfulness in stuff that wasn't intended to be artful. For the podcast, we have a sponsor, a company called Vinegar Syndrome, that primarily puts out like lost and hard to find horror, cult, exploitation, and even weird porn.
I support them.
Yeah, they put out this weird stuff that maybe got got a release of 200 VHS tapes in the 80s and it was never seen again. And it's stuff that some of it's not very good, some of it's not very well made. It's sometimes made by people who have never. Sometimes you question if they've ever seen a movie before.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's the most fun stuff. It's like, yeah, as a whole, the movie maybe wasn't good, but there's something interesting. There's an earnestness to it.
Right.
Because I've just found, like, I used to be like a lot of people where, whenever the Oscars would come around, I would chase down all the Oscar films and see as many as I can. And I found myself, after a couple years of doing that, just getting really bored and tired of the formula.
Yes, I agree.
Where now it's like, what's something weird
right.
that I might not have seen before? One of the biggest joys of my year is I once a year write a list for a website called Rupert Pumpkin Speaks, and I do a discoveries list of just weird shit that I found. And I've got my own strict rules for what counts as a discovery and whatnot.
Right.
And that's always the weirdest stuff for me, is the most fun stuff. It's like, was this movie good? No, but it was interesting.
Right.
Where I've seen movies that on every level were great, but I've never thought about ever again. Like, what was the movie The Theory of Everything?
Oh, yeah,
The
yeah.
Stephen Hawking movie is great. It was a good movie. It was well made, well acted, well directed, but I probably will never watch that movie again in my life.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a great movie, yeah. But then a weird movie made by a bunch of college students in the 70s when they're trying to create a cop drama, but they only have $5,000 to spend. Wasn't a good movie, but I'm gonna end going back to that movie more. So that's my whole thing is, after a while you see enough of these what's considered to be great films, or well-reviewed films, and you just start feeling numb to them all.
Yeah, I agree.
Where I don't like that feeling. I don't like feeling numb. So I'll still see those movies. I'll still see big budget, whatever movies. I'll go see Transformers. I'll go see whatever.
Right.
But as soon as I start feeling myself to become uninterested, I switch gears.
Right.
Because even with those weird films I get from Vinegar Syndrome, after a while, it's like, I don't really want to watch something like this right now. I want to watch this. So I follow my gut to what it's telling me.
Right. I like that.
Yeah. And so that's the biggest thing. Another thing I guess I could tell you is don't let the fear of something being bad stop you from seeing it or doing it.
Yeah.
Because there's a podcast I like quite a bit called Shockwaves. It's a horror podcast.
You post about it a lot.
Yeah. And one of the hosts on there, he's a teacher, and he one time said that it's like, I don't have a lot of time for negativity because, and he was speaking, and he always uses this movie as an example. He's like, I don't have a lot of time for negativity. I'll give my feelings on something, but I don't spend a lot of time on hating on something, because while I might not like it, the Microwave Massacre might be someone's favorite movie.
Right.
So just because everyone around you is like, oh, that movie's not good, sure, you don't have to go see it. I'm not saying see everything that's bad.
Right.
But make your own opinions first. Go see it. Maybe you might love it.
Right.
That's the reason I don't read film criticism before I've seen something.
Right.
I'll read it afterwards, and I don't always agree. Like, Leonard Maltin famously gave Taxi Driver a terrible review, but it's considered one of the greatest films of all time. But I still respect him for saying that and thinking that, because I'm glad that he's got his own opinion.
Right.
So.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're always so nice and accommodating, and I really appreciate all the time.
Anytime. If you need more, house is always open.
I love it. Thank you.
You're very welcome.